Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This video is going to be my wrap up for the month of July. I kind of want to do monthly wrap up videos even though they're not the most popular YouTube videos here in terms of booktube, but I'm not entirely certain if TBR videos are going to be for me, but I kind of want to at least tell you the books that I did end up reading in that month if I didn't actually put them on a monthly TBR. Well, let's get on with this July wrap-up. In the month of July, I read a total of 6 books. The first book that I read, which I completed on July 7th, was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Farseer trilogy. I am finally getting started with my read of The Realm of the Elderlings. The second book that I read in the month of July, which I finished on July 8th, was a book I had started back in June, and that is Rainbow Grey, Eye of the Storm. This is the second book in the Rainbow Grey series. I don't know how many books Lauren Ellen Anderson is going to publish in this series. I read the first book, Rainbow Grey, back in May for Bookopoly-a-thon. The third book that I read in the month of July, I actually finished on my birthday. July 16th is They Both Die at the End by Silvera. A standalone novel, possibly a series. I'm not entirely certain, or Silvera may write another book set in this world. Very much enjoyed this book. The fourth book that I finished in July is actually a reread, and I finished on July 18th, and that was my reread of Flashfire by TJ Klune. This is the second book in his Extraordinaries series. Again, a reread for me. The first time I read this book was actually in December of last year. A YA fantasy series featuring superheroes. The fifth book that I read in the month of July, which I finished on July 23rd, was The Martian by Andy Weir. This is a standalone science fiction novel by Andy Weir. It essentially features a guy who ends up stranded on planet Mars, and he has to find out how to survive, and NASA has to figure out how to get him back safely alive. There is also a movie based off of this book. The book did come first. And then the 6 books that I read in the month of July, which I finished on July 26th, is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a standalone this is a standalone science fiction story, sort of like a modern space opera, murder mystery, male romance set in space. In total, I read 2,235 pages, spanning 3 different genres, 2 fantasy books. Assassin's Apprentice is a fantasy book, and Rainbow Grey also be classified as a fantasy book. 2 books which I would consider part of the contemporary romance spectrum are They Both Die at the End by Silvera, as it features a male-male romance. And of course, Flashfire by TJ Klune also features a male-male romance. And 2 straight up, or at least would be classified in the science fiction genre, are The Martian by Andy Weir and Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. All these books also span 3 categories in terms of age ranges, acceptance. Assassin's Apprentice, The Martian, and Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell are all considered adult books. They Both Die at the End and Flashfire by TJ Klune are all considered Y young adult books. And Rainbow Grey, Eye of the Storm is a middle grade book. The star ratings, I gave no, 0, no, 1, 2, or 3-star ratings. This month, all my ratings were 4 or above. 4 of my books that I read got 4 stars from me. Assassin's Apprentice, Eye of the Storm, The Martian, and Winter's Orbit got 4 stars from me. I do not give out half stars. They're all 4-star ratings, and I have 2 5-star reads this month. They Both Die at the End by Silvera was a 5-star read, and of course my reread of Flashfire by TJ Klune will stay a 5-star rating. So let me dive into the call pile scores and why I ended up giving these books the ratings they did. We will go in order as I read the books. So, Assassin's Apprentice by Hobb, I gave a 7 for characters, a 7 for atmosphere, 8 for writing, 7 for plot, I for intrigue, L for logic, 8 for logic, and an 8 for enjoyment. Very much a beginning and setup novel for the Expanse and the world that is the realm of the Otherlings. I would place Assassin's Apprentice by Hobb in the same place that I would place the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you like that book series, you'll probably like the realm of the Otherlings, as the writing is very much the same. This book we follow Fitz, who is the bastard son of Prince Chivalry. He's a bastard son, and he ends up at the front of this keep. Anyways, the king learns out of his existence and decides that he would be better suited for the role of assassin. So Fitz ends up getting trained up to be an assassin, where he is sent out on political quests, essentially to gain info. And if he finds any information that would harm the crown, he is, of course, to assassinate. There are, of course, 2 different abilities. Fitz has an ability in this book where essentially he can understand animals, which I think is a very, very cool ability, as I am a huge animal lover, and a set of skill, which was briefly mentioned in this book, but I'm guessing will play a bigger role in another book. So it got a 7.57 out of 10, which is a 4-star rating. It's kind of like a low 4-star, but as this is a more coming-of-age story, and very expansive, and a little bit slow to get through, I'm very glad it got a 4 stars for me, and I will be looking forward to continuing with The Realm of the Eldering. For Eye of the Storm by Lauren Eller Anderson, also the second book in the Rainbow Grey series, I gave it a 7 for characters, an 8 for atmosphere, 7 for writing, 7 for plot, 8 for intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. Also got a 7.54 out of 10, or a 4-star rating. I'm not entirely certain, but my read of Rainbow Grey, the first one, I think got a similar score, so that's really good. With this series, I really do like how it's based off of weather, as I am a weather geek. I watch a lot of storm chasing videos about tornadoes and tornado coverage, especially when the drastic tornadoes hit. So I very do much like the concept of weather, and I like how this book actually featured a murder mystery style plot, as I do like to read murder mystery books. My favorite type of thriller is a murder mystery. If this book series does end up continuing past these 2 books, as I have gotten up to date with this series, I will be definitely continuing. Third book is, of course, They Both Die at the End by Silvera. So I gave this book a 10 for characters, and 8 for atmosphere, 10 for writing, a 9 for plot, 9 for intrigue, 9 for logic, and a 10 for enjoyment, bringing it a 9.25 out of 10, definitely a 5-star read. I really liked this book. I figured I would. This book came from a recommendation from Maddie from Book Browsing Blog. I'll link her channel down below. I have similar taste in her books as far as I've noticed here on BookTube, and when she talked about this book and how it's essentially about two guys, Mateo Torres and Rufus Emeterio. In this world, there is a system known as Deathcast, where essentially you will get a call from Deathcast stating that you are going to die sometime that day. And essentially, Mateo and Rufus end up becoming what's known as last day friends with each other through an app, and it's essentially how they set out to live a lifetime in less than 24 hours. This book did not make me cry while I was reading it, but whenever I would think of this book, I would start to tear up. This is definitely a male-male romance between Mateo and Rufus, very much a friends to lovers, technically, scenario as I would count it, even though they weren't lovers for a very long time and their friendship didn't last a very long time. I feel like if they weren't dying, their relationship would have probably definitely continued and would have been what would be considered a friends to lovers type of relationship, which I absolutely love friends to lovers. I don't really know if I would like the Deathcast system if it were here today. I do not think I would like to know when I was going to die. I mean, I am an anxious person, so possibly it would help, plan my last moments a little bit better. But I'm positively certain that the idea of waking up and knowing, hey, you're going to die today, or hey, you might get a call today saying that you're going to die, would, I think, probably terrify me even more. So I'm very, very glad that this is technically considered a science fiction / semi-dystopian book. Yeah, I really enjoyed reading this book. It's also a fairly quick read. The writing is fairly big in terms of text, and the chapters are pretty short. So, a very, very, very enjoyable read. Very glad to have read this. If Adam Silvera writes more books set in this similar world, I will be definitely reading them. The next book is my reread of Flashfire by TJ Klune. TJ Klune, as I have mentioned on this channel time and time again, is my all-time absolute favorite author so far. Every book I've read from him, I have given 5 stars. And at the time of me currently filming this video, I'm currently reading a book by TJ Klune, and I am absolutely certain it will get 5 stars from me at the end. So, this book, I gave it a 10 for characters, 9 for atmosphere, 10 for writing, 9 for plot, 9 for intrigue, 9 for logic, and a 10 for enjoyment, giving it a 9.43 out of 10, which is a 5 star. Now, this book essentially follows Seth, Gray, and Nick Bell as they are trying to navigate their city and protect it from harm. We do find out in the first book that extraordinaries exist, when in this world he would classify them as superheroes. I absolutely love the concept of superheroes, and TJ Klune took the concept of superheroes and went, okay, I like superheroes, I'm going to write a book series about superheroes, but I'm going to make it queer. And that automatically screams that I'm going to absolutely love it. And all TJ Klune books are queer. That is one of the reasons why I love it. I would give the atmosphere, I did draw the atmosphere down a 9, even though I do really like it that much. This book, we're starting to get the concept of police brutality mentioned, and unfair and not great living conditions, much more similar to our world today with how cultures are being represented and the police brutality and stuff. That is pretty much one of the main topics of this book. And while I love seeing that relationship and that aspect drawn in this book, as it's done fairly nicely. That does bring the atmosphere level grade down for me, as it does mention police brutality, as I do have a member of my family who does work in the police force. So it's a little bit hard-hitting. But a lovely, lovely book to read, and I will absolutely be continuing with the series. The third and final book is already out, and you best believe it that I'm definitely going to be reading it. The next book is The Martian by Andy Weir. So I gave this book a 9 for characters, 8 for atmosphere, 8 for writing, 9 for plot, 8 for intrigue, 10 for logic, and a 9 for enjoyment, giving it an 8.71 out of 10, which is a 4-star. I really actually did like this book, more so than I thought I probably would. Actually, I thought I was going to really enjoy it actually a little bit more than I did. The writing style in this is very funny, as our main character, one of the main points that is mentioned from him is he was chosen for his mission because he's fairly funny. So there are a whole bunch of jokes. There's also a lot of pop culture references in this book, especially to like older TV shows such as Three's Company and those TV shows, which I've seen a couple of episodes of. So I do like those references. But the writing style in this is fairly full of scientific explanation and knowledge that I do not have. I do have concept of like space and stuff, but when it comes to, I guess you could call it environmental biology and the biology side of space and like oxygenation, that part really got to me a little bit, as there were points in this book where I was reading it and I kind of didn't know what was going on, but I still wanted to continue anyways, as you kind of pick up and you kind of realize like, okay, I'm pretty certain that's what you're talking about. I kind of wish the writing style and the words were explained more as to what he used. I would have benefited from a glossary at the back of this book, which there isn't one, so that's kind of why I gave it a 4-star, is if I had probably understood entirely what this book was talking about in terms of all the technical terms, I would have probably enjoyed this book a lot more than I did, and it may have gotten a higher, actually it got a pretty high 4-star rating. It may have gotten a 5-star for me if it weren't for the jargon in this book. This is a standalone though, so there aren't any in terms of series, but Andy Weir does have 2 other books out right now, Artemis and Project Hail Mary, which I will probably be reading in the future. And then the last book that I read during the month of July was Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I ended up giving this book a 9 for characters, a 7 for atmosphere, an 8 for writing, 7 for plot, 8 for intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. A 7.86 out of 10, which is a 4-star. I thought I was actually going to give this book 5 stars when I originally heard that this book was a male-male romance set in space. I thought I would give it 5 stars, but it didn't, and I'll tell you why. Is the concept, I would explain the 2 lovers in this relationship. While it's male-male, that part's not relevant. It is relevant, but while it's male-male, and I love male-male relationships, this one, I'm pretty certain it's enemies to lovers as what I would classify as a trope, because they're not technically friends, as they do come from opposite clans. The enemies to lovers relationship wasn't very drawn out, and what baffled me as the reason why I thought I would enjoy it is I thought it would be like an easy male-male romance. And the point where once it really turned into the male-male actual romance for it and they started like falling for each other, I enjoyed that part, which happened about halfway through. The first half I thought was a little bit confusing in terms of the writing and what was kind of going on. I'm not entirely certain where we were set. It was all very confusing with the writing style. And the plot of this book, I'm not entirely certain what I like. As the two main characters is a forced and arranged marriage to essentially unite the clans and then rectify and set up a treaty. And we find out that the one main character in this relationship, their previous partner, died. And we do find out later, and that's where the murder mystery aspect happens. And I really enjoyed that, as I thought that was really cool. The ending of this book, it happened for me very suddenly, as I thought it was quite a sudden ending. But it was wrapped up fully at the end, and I really did enjoy that. And the fact that it was a male-male romance and the two main characters ended up actually falling for each other, even though it did start out as an arranged marriage, which I don't really particularly like those types of relationships, as they're not really common nowadays. Male-male romance, male-male, at least arranged marriages aren't common nowadays, so to have that be one of the features in this book kind of brought down the rating a bit for me. That and the semi-confusing atmosphere. I do like stories set in space, but this one I thought the space was a little bit weird, as I wasn't entirely certain what planet this was set on in terms of space. I wasn't entirely set on, and it was all kind of a bit confusing until I got used to it. And that's what threw me off with this book and why I got a 4-star rating instead of a 5-star prediction. But nonetheless, a 4-star nonetheless. I don't think Everina Maxwell has written any more books, but if she does in the future, depending on what she writes, I'll probably at least check them out. But I probably won't buy a physical copy unless I end up absolutely really liking it, giving it a higher 4-star rating than this. So there you have it. My wrap up for the month of July. A very average reading month for me in terms of my reading was 6 books. 5 of the books are shown here. I kind of wish I had done a set TBR for this month, but as July was my birthday month, I decided to reread the month of July and read what I wanted to. And I'm still kind of working out if I want to do set TBRs in terms of my reading goes. I might not. We will see for the future in terms of my reading and definitely in how I'm feeling, as I don't want reading for me to be work. I want it to be something that I really enjoy. So we'll either do a set TBR where I choose books that I want to read, or I may mood read. I may do a bit of both. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what you guys read in the month of July and how many books you managed to get to. I managed 6 books in the month of July, which is actually pretty standard for me in terms of my reading. So those are all my books. Don't forget to like this video and like it, and subscribe for more bookish content from me. I will catch you guys in my next video. And remember, we are the one within the all.